Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Moneycontrol. And if you guys are wondering what I'm doing here on a Saturday morning, I'm here to help you understand better the numbers delivered by Reliance Industries. And to help me do that, I have Rachita Prasad, my colleague, joining me in. She tracks the diversified conglomerate she's been doing it for so many years now. Rachita, talk to us about the overall consolidated performance, largely in line, would you say?
Hi, Karunya. Good morning. Interesting Saturday to be discussing Reliance. Overall, if you look at Reliance's performance, I mean, interesting set of numbers. The revenue growth has been strong and it is a broad-based growth. If you see, in the third quarter of financial year 2022-23, revenue has gone up by around 15.3%. Net profit has declined a bit, which was on expected lines. But the revenue mix, if you see, whether it's O2C, which is their oils to chemicals business, or the oil and gas business, or retail or geo, all of them have, performed well. What is interesting is that this happens in the backdrop of a very volatile market, global
Yeah.
market, if you see. So that way they have performed well. If you see the profits, EBITDA actually has grown around 13.5% year on year. So both revenue and EBITDA, if you see, have been led by digital, oil and gas, retail, and the O2C business specifically. It had slightly mixed bag. There was a weak downstream chemical margins kind of weighed down, but there was also an impact of the special additional excise duty on the business. But overall, it has performed well. Overall, a strong revenue growth. Net profit, of course, has declined a bit. That is mainly one of the factors is that the same quarter last year, which is the third
Yeah.
quarter of the last fiscal, they had actually booked a profit of around 2,800 odd crores on the sale of their shale gas asset. So that
Right.
gave a big, base year. So there's a
It was
decline
a
on account of
one-time
that.
impact.
It was a one-time game in the same quarter last year. So the base was
Yeah,
higher, obviously.
yeah.
And the other
Okay.
thing, of course, is that in the O2C business, like I said, it was a mixed bag. Some of the products had low margins, and another thing is that finance cost has been high. There are outstanding debt is around 3.03 lakh crores, and I mean we know what is happening in terms of the interest rate scenario
Yeah.
remains quite high. So that's overall interesting quarter and strong revenue growth.
Absolutely. But if we take a closer look at O2C, oil and gas, what were the big takeaways there? I mean, you have talked about O2C, I mean, already, but if you can also give us some color on oil and gas.
Of course. I mean, O2C, the energy business still
Yeah,
is the biggest business for Reliance. So we
yeah.
need to have a closer look at it. And if you see the third quarter, in terms of the overall energy market, it remained volatile, right? That's the background. The
Hmm.
crude prices actually sequentially, if you see, it declined, but year on year, it still remained high. So, having said all that, one of the things that the management shared yesterday, that there was an improvement in middle distillate cracks in the O2C business. So that kind of gave some support to the profitability, but that was also partially offset by weak downstream chemical margins coming in. So that was like a again gains and the weak margins kind of offsetting each other to some extent. And of course the duty continued to weigh on the company. Overall, what was interesting and what the management also said is, I mean, we know that Reliance's refineries have very high flexibility in terms of how they can operate. So what we understand they did in the quarter is that they kind of use that flexibility into their advantage in terms of the feedstock that they were using, and also in terms of the mix of the products. So that kind of helped them override the volatility in the market. Downstream chemicals, of course, like I said, the margin pressure continues, and there is somewhat of an excess supply building up. And the management said that relatively the regional demand was rather weak on that. But overall, an interesting quarter for the oil to O2C business. The oil and gas business specifically was quite interesting because the realizations improved significantly. Gas prices, they Reliance management said that the realization was high because obviously there was an increase in the ceiling prices there, and volume also increased. So which is good news that there is a increase in volume at a time where realizations have improved as well.
Right.
That's
Okay. Let's shift gears and talk about Geo as well, because they delivered record revenues and EBITDA this time around.
Yeah. So, Karunya, of course, Geo is the next big thing. And
Yeah.
what next? I mean, in the sense that it's already quite big. I mean, net profit rose 28.3%, revenue rose 18.9%. Of course, the platform is doing well in terms of expansion that they have. I mean, they have invested quite a bit in the last few years, and we can see things, kind of moving in the right direction now. The biggest story developing in Geo, of course, is the 5G rollout, right? I mean, we have been Moneycontrol has been writing about how that is panning out, and as we talk, they have already extended the true 5G that they are rolling out to 134 cities across 22 states. So that's where a lot of action is likely to come, and the management said that they are aggressively expanding the 5G network, and
Yeah.
the subscriber base added has increased, and they expect this momentum to continue.
Okay, great. And finally, last but definitely not the least, the retail business. Q3, I mean, seasonally also for retail companies is a strong quarter because of festive season, because of wedding rush as well. So how did that play out? I mean, for the retail business this time?
Yeah, absolutely right, Karunya. I mean, it's literally the festival season, and weddings, and winters approaching. Everybody's
Yeah.
stocking up on things. So it is an important quarter for the retail industry in general, and it reflects in the results as well. Their revenue has jumped 17%, and their net profit is up 6.2%, and they actually witnessed their highest footfall ever. So that's an interesting a bit coming from retail. It's strong performance in the quarter, and the management spoke about how they are expanding in terms of not just the outlets and number of outlets, but also in terms of their online presence. And interestingly enough, I mean, they have been doing a lot of tie-ups with brands, and across categories. So they expect that to continue, and things, of course, in general, I think we are probably out of the shadows as far as retail is concerned in terms of the pandemic. So people are back shopping, and that seems to be working for Reliance as well.
Great. I mean, all in all, looks like a solid set once again from RIL. Any forward-looking comments on green energy at all?
So green energy, of course, they have an ambitious plan there, and a lot of they have been doing a lot of tie-ups for green
Yeah.
hydrogen, and that is a story in making, and that will be the big story going ahead. As such, no
And,
big
and
announcement.
and I don't know if you were able to see that JP Morgan report recently, wherein they had valued their green alternative energy, green energy hydrogen business at $8 billion, and they might do it via InVit route. That was another media report going the round. So, anything on
See,
that?
so Karunya, of course, they have not spoken about what
Mm,
route they will be taking, but the
mm,
ambition is clear. I mean, they have spoken about the clean
yeah.
energy, and they're investing in it big time, and it's obvious how they are investing in it because I mean, it's like a consistent plan rolling out, and that is going to be the next big thing. But we have to understand what's happening in the broader market, because if you talk about green hydrogen, it's still a little early stage in India. So companies are moving forward. Some companies are moving faster than the others. The government has recently announced the policy, which is quite exciting, because they are trying to look at the concerns that people had for green energy, and they are trying to look at whatever can be done in terms of incentivizing people to kind of invest in the space. And of course, Mr. Ambani has spoken about the ambition of, kind of not just pushing Reliance in the direction of green hydrogen, but also kind of helping India to become a hub for green hydrogen. And so that of course would be something that we'll have to wait and watch. Going ahead in terms of the forward looking statement, traditionally Reliance is rather conservative in talking about
Yeah.
what they expect. But a few things that were interesting is, there is an enabling resolution that they have done a fundraising 20,000 odd crores. So that that we'll have to see how that happens. Of course, they will be talking about how they will raise it and how they will kind of invest it later. The other thing that Mr. Shrikant, who's their joint uh, chief financial officer, he was talking to reporters yesterday and kind of highlighted is that all said and done, the economic headwind due to the rising interest rates continues. So that is something that companies are being careful about. They are very optimistic about domestic demand as far as energy is concerned, even though the demand globally might soften a bit. In terms of the China factor, of course, the China demand is expected to increase more because the COVID restrictions have been lifted, and that is something we'll have to watch out for, because that may have an impact on how the petrochemicals prices pan out going ahead. Another interesting thing he shared was that the effective net global refining capacity is expected to rise by around 1 million barrel per day, because of a lot of new capacity that is coming up in the second half of the year 2023. I'm talking about the calendar year. So he said that that will give some kind of support. So there will be some support to the margins, but there'll be limited upside, because new output would enter the market, and kind of the supply side would be boosted. So generally they are being watchful of the energy market, and like I said, the rising interest rates would be something to
Yeah.
watch out for.
All right, great then. Rachita, thanks for wrapping it all up for us, in great detail, each and every business uh, and how it performed in the quarter gone by. With that, it's a wrap from us. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.
Thank you.